Welcome to the Strange History Podcast. Today we're going to be talking about something I've mentioned before in my podcast. I've been wanting to cover this topic for a very long time. It is about the Epic of Gilgamesh. The Epic of Gilgamesh is one of the oldest known works of literature in human history. It originated in ancient Mesopotamia, which is in modern-day Iraq. This epic poem tells the story of Gilgamesh, a historical figure who likely ruled the city-state of Uruk around 2700 BC, though the epic itself was written much later. It was written during the Akkadian Empire. The original epic was crafted by the Sumerians, but reworked and edited by the later cultures of the Sumerians, Akkadians, Babylonians, and the Assyrians. The earliest recorded version of the epic was edited and found in the library in Nineveh. It was written originally in the Sumerian language with cuneiform characters on 12 tablets. The interesting thing about this is that the epic was not found in just one place. They found copies of it in many different places, so apparently it was very popular. And frankly, I thought I was going to be learning about another creation story that has to do with floods and gods, but my dear listeners, this is anything but. The Epic of Gilgamesh is a bad boy story full of sex, hot, wild bad boys, and harlots. Throw in a little fighting and adventures, and you have the theme to any action, romance, bromance film that's out there. So when you think of our ancient ancestors, and you think they had no entertainment that involved any of that, they surely did. They had the Epic of Gilgamesh. So like I said, it was discovered in ancient Mesopotamia in several different locations, primarily modern-day Iraq. The most significant find was made in the mid-19th century in the ruins of an ancient Assyrian city of Nineveh, located near present-day Mosul. It was located during the excavations led by the British archaeologist Austen Henry Layard. This discovery included a collection of cuneiform tablets containing portions of the epic. Another important discovery occurred in the late 19th century when the British Museum acquired a more complete version of the epic from the library of the king Ashurbanipal of Assyria, also found in Nineveh. Later, archaeological excavations in Mesopotamia and the broader region yielded additional fragments and versions of the Epic of Gilgamesh. These were scattered across various museums and collections worldwide, probably from being pillaged prior and, tomb raiding, etc. These discoveries, included those in Nippur and Ur, have contributed to our understanding of this epic and its various versions. In total, there are several different versions and variations of the Epic of Gilgamesh, and again, it's written in cuneiform script on clay tablets. These tablets date back to a very different time period, reflecting the enduring popularity and cultural significance of the story over many centuries. The epic is a complex narrative, and it can be broken down into several key parts, and you can actually read the whole entire thing. I'll post a link in the bio, but I'll be giving you bits and pieces of it here. The story begins by introducing Gilgamesh, the king of Uruk. He's described as a powerful, arrogant, and oppressive ruler who is 2/3 divine and 1/3 human, with incredible strength and intellect. However, the people of Uruk suffer under this guy's harsh rule, and they pray to the gods for relief. In response to the people's prayers, the gods create Enkidu, a wild man who lives in the steppe with the animals. Enkidu is innocent and pure, but also strong and wild. He's meant to be Gilgamesh's equal and to challenge his arrogance. Gilgamesh learns about Enkidu from a local trapper. The trapper is very upset because Enkidu keeps filling in his trapping pits and removing all of his traps. So right away, Enkidu is an animal lover, ladies. But the story goes on that the trapper has a real need to rid those lands of Enkidu. And he advises Gilgamesh to send a temple prostitute, Shamhat, to civilize him. The story reads on, "My son, there lives in Uruk a certain Gilgamesh. There is no one stronger than he. He is as strong as the meteorite of Anu." What is the meteorite of Anu, you ask? Well, Anu was a god. Well, not just any god. He was the big papa of the gods. He was primarily associated with the heavens or the skies. He was considered the ruler of the divine realm and is often depicted as residing in the highest heavenly regions. His association with the sky led him to being regarded as the father of the gods. The trapper is told, "Go, set off to Uruk, tell Gilgamesh of this man of might. He will give you the harlot Shamhat to take with you. The woman will overcome the fellow as if she were strong. When the animals are drinking at the watering place, have her take off her robe and expose her sex. When he sees her, he will draw near to her, and his animals, who grew up in his wilderness, will be alien to him." The interpreted verses are, The trapper went, bringing the harlot Shamhat with him. They set off on the journey. On the third day they arrived at the appointed place, and the trapper and the harlot sat down at their posts. A first day and a second day they sat opposite the watering hole. The animals arrived and drank at the watering hole. The wild beasts arrived and slaked their thirst with water. Then he, Enkidu, offspring of the mountains, who eats grasses with the gazelles, came to drink at the watering hole with the animals. With the wild beasts he slaked his thirst with water. Then Shamhat saw him, a primitive and savage fellow from the depths of the wilderness. That is he, Shamhat. Release your clenched arms, expose your sex, so he can take in your voluptuousness. Do not be restrained. Take his energy when he sees you. He will draw near to you. Spread out your robe so he can lie upon you and perform for his primitive the task of womankind. His animals who grew up in his wilderness will become alien to him, and his lust will groan over you. Shamhat unclutched her bosom, exposed her sex, and he took in her voluptuousness. She was not restrained, but took his energy. She spread out her robe, and he lay upon her. She performed for the primitive the task of womankind. His lust groaned over her for 6 days and 7 nights. Enkidu stayed aroused and had intercourse with the harlot until he was sated with her charms. But when he turned his attention to his animals, the gazelles saw Enkidu and darted off. The wild animals distanced themselves from his body. Enkidu, his utterly depleted body, his knees that wanted to go off with his animals, went rigid. Enkidu was diminished. His running was not as before. But then he drew himself up, for his understanding had broadened, and turning around he sat down at the harlot's feet, gazing into her face, his ears attentive as the harlot spoke. The harlot said to Enkidu, "You are beautiful, Enkidu. You are becoming like a god. Why do you gallop around the wilderness with the wild beasts? Come, let me bring you into Uruk Haven to the holy temple, the residence of Anu and Ishtar, the place where Gilgamesh, who is wise to perfection, but who struts his power over the people like a wild bull." What she kept saying found favor with him. Becoming aware of himself, he sought a friend. Enkidu spoke to the harlot. "Come, Shamhat, take me away with you to the sacred holy temple, the residence of Anu and Ishtar, the place of Gilgamesh, who is wise to perfection, but who struts his power over the people like a wild bull. I will challenge him. Let me shout out in Uruk, I am the mighty one. Lead me in, and I will change the order of things. He whose strength is mightiest is the one born in the wilderness." The harlot then knows she has been successful in wooing the mighty Enkidu. She goes on to saying, Come, let us go, so he may see your face. I will lead you to Gilgamesh. I know where he will be. Look about, Enkidu, inside Uruk Haven, where the people show off in skirted finery, where every day is a day for some festival, where the lyre and the drum play continually, where harlots stand about prettily, exuding voluptuousness, full of laughter, and on the couch of the night the sheets are spread. But then she drops the bombshell. She loves Gilgamesh, so you have to credit the hussy for being honest. Enkidu, you do not know how to live. I will show you Gilgamesh, a man of extreme feelings. Look at him. Gaze at his face. He is a handsome youth with freshness. His entire body exudes voluptuousness. He has mightier strength than you, without sleeping a day or night. Enkidu, it is your wrong thoughts you must change. It is Gilgamesh who Shamhat loves, and Anu and Enlil and La have enlarged his mind. Even before you came from the mountain, Gilgamesh and Uruk had dreams about you. So basically, they used this woman to tame the wild beast of a man. Sounds like a real bad boy story, honestly. Like if the BCs had their bad boy romance novel, this harlot would have her own book, maybe calling it The Taming of the Meteor Man. You have to wonder what happened to her after all this. I'll look into it and see if there's anything in the historical records. But on to the bromance portion of our story. After spending time with Shamhat, Enkidu loses his wildness and becomes more human. He then goes on to Uruk, where he confronts Gilgamesh. The two warriors initially clash, but soon become close friends and embark on an adventure together. Of course they do. I honestly love this for them. Gilgamesh and Enkidu decide to prove their bravery by journeying to the Cedar Forest, a forbidden realm guarded by the monstrous Humbaba. They received blessings from the sun god Shamash, and they kill the bull of heaven. This victory angers the gods, and they decide an eye for an eye, and they take Enkidu's life as payment for the loss of the bull of heaven. Oh no. Enkidu has bad dreams of the destiny of tyrants and how they suffer in the afterlife in the house of death. Enkidu tries to guide Gilgamesh, trying to convince him to change his ways, but eventually he dies of an illness imposed on him by the gods. Scared of death, Gilgamesh sets off on a quest to find the immortal flood survival Utnapishtim, often identified with the biblical Noah. Hoping to learn the secret of eternal life, he faces various challenges and adventures during his journey, including a perilous journey through the waters of death. Noah tells Gilgamesh about a great flood that wiped out humanity, but spared him and his family. He reveals that the gods granted him immortality as a reward for surviving the deluge. However, Noah explains that true immortality is reserved for the gods, and humans must accept their mortality. Gilgamesh eventually returns to Uruk, having realized that immortality is unattainable. He now appreciates the city's beauty and its role in human life. He records this story on tablets and shares it with the people of Uruk. The Epic of Gilgamesh is a profound exploration of themes such as friendship, mortality, the search for the meaning of life, and the relationship between humans and the divine. Gilgamesh's character undergoes significant development, transforming from a proud and tyrannical king into a wiser and more humble leader by the end of this epic. So there you have it, people. The very first bad boy written in history, Gilgamesh. I do hope you enjoyed this episode. The epic is very long, and I did condense it down to the main points here. But if you want to learn more, again, click on the link in the notes. It's a long read, but it's totally worth it. This episode is brought to you by 1159 Media and hosted on Spreaker. They're the best podcast hosting place in the world. It's free and you can make mucho bucks. Peace out.